Welcome back to Brilliant Fools. My name is Adam Green. And from generation to generation, we have several different generations in the workforce. In fact, by some counts, there are at least 5 generations that are currently in the workforce, and they're all known for something different. So this is our technical moment here, and I want to kind of look at what these generations are known for, and then we can kind of understand them a little bit more, right? Identify those in the generations and see what they're all about. Now, there's overlap in all of these generations. I want to be very clear about that. But let's continue on. Let's see what they're known for. You have your traditionalists, or the silent generation. Those born from the mid-1920s into the mid-1940s, usually mid to late 1940s. That's a lot of your war babies, if you want to call it that. So a lot of your war babies, wartime babies, are then born during that time, and they're your older generation. I mean, they're the ones that are retired, semi-retired, kind of coming back, helping out. They're dying off, honestly. A lot of them are just not there anymore, but they do still exist in the workforce. And what you get from them often is a lot of loyalty, discipline, very strong work ethic. They have a respect for authority a lot of times, usually, and they're very reliable. Now, some of the challenges, some of the bad things that come into that is there's a lot of resistance to change, not very tech savvy, usually. They can be very rigid about the hierarchy or what they believe should be going on and how things should be done. Who can blame them? They're older, right? And then you've got the next generation, your baby boomers. Baby boomers were born mid-1940s into the mid-1960s. And they're, in general, they're hardworking. Well, first of all, the baby boomers usually came because this was after the war. And then, you had a lot of wives getting pregnant when their husbands would come home from the war. But you get a lot of the baby boomers that are known for being hardworking, competitive, team-oriented, and experienced. They usually have a very strong leadership presence, maybe leadership nature, natural leadership, more or less kind of comes into that. Some of their worse character traits or bad character traits can be resistant to change, resistant to new technology in particular. It worked just fine the old way. Why are we changing it? They can struggle to balance work and life. Like, work can be their life oftentimes, and it can be hard for them to balance that. They value face time over flexibility. These are ones that are arguing for the workforce to come back into the office so that they can have that face time instead of being, a flexible workforce. And regardless of productivity, there can be. So what can come from that is I have a lack of control now, or I feel like I have a lack of control. So even if the numbers are good and I'm getting more productivity with people being out of the office, I still want them back in the office because I want to see everybody and I want to see everything that's going on, kind of a situation. Then you've got your Generation X, right? Gen X, born mid-60s to early to mid-80s is that stretch. They're independent. A lot of them were known as like the latchkey kids, right? So they have a key and their parents were both working. So they get home and they've got to fend for themselves because the parents aren't home when they get home from school. And this is kind of how they grew up, right? So independent, very adaptable, tend to be pretty adaptable, pragmatic about things, very practical. How do things work out practically? They can be good problem solvers for sure. Although they can also be a little stubborn, but they can be good problem solvers, even entrepreneurial. But they're a lot more skeptical of authority. They're less loyal to their employers than the generations before them. They can be seen a lot of times as cynical or disengaged, not quite as in with the rest of the people. And then you've got your next generation, the millennials. Some occasionally called Generation Y, but not really all that much. Usually millennials is what they go by. And they were born from early 80s to mid 90s, mid to late 90s. Really, millennials, the idea behind it is the ones that were coming of age at the turn of the millennium. They were the ones that witnessed 9/11 and the towers fall. So they saw the rise of new technologies, saw the rise of the internet, saw the rise of terrorism as well. They went from landlines to cell phones. So they had this stretch of little technology to a lot of technology, and they've lived through it all. So they do tend to be tech savvy because they've seen the changes come along with it. So they tend to be more tech savvy, very collaborative, and they can be very socially conscious for sure. They have more desire for purpose in their work and a desire for a work-life balance as well, very much so. But they can also be seen as entitled, impatient, overly reliant on feedback. I always need someone telling me how I'm doing in order to know if I'm doing well or not. They can be very prone to job hopping, intentional job hopping, jumping from place to place, trying to find that purpose, trying to find what they can hold on to that will keep them driven and keep them going. And then you've got Gen Z. These are the ones that are entering the workforce now. They were born late 90s to really the early to mid 2010s. So these are the ones that do not remember 9/11, even if they saw it. They don't remember a world without internet. Even if they had it, they don't really remember it. It's not that thing. So they're entering the workforce now. They are more tech native, digital native. That's where they live. That's what they've always known. Even when they came of age, they were coming of age where social media was already pretty ubiquitous. So they knew social media when they came of age. So they're very socially aware, innovative. They're independent learners a lot of times. They value diversity, inclusion, that sort of thing is kind of one of the ideas behind them. They can have short attention spans, lower tolerance for the hierarchy, for authority. They have a lot of mental health stress, it seems like. They often are seen as having high expectations for quick advancement. And so that's just kind of the generation that's there. There's always been this kind of look from one generation to another as, they don't understand. They don't understand life. And that can be from Gen Z looking at baby boomers and thinking, they just don't understand what's going on in life. They don't understand technology, social media, etc. That can be from traditionalists looking at, Gen X or millennials saying they're just not disciplined. They're not willing to work alone, that sort of thing. A lot of baby boomers, they're just not looking at younger generations. They're not independent enough. They need to be more independent. Now, this is the technical side of things. But just to kind of throw a seed out there, I would want to say that this is not limited to these different generations. In fact, I don't even think we can identify people or put their identity in these different generational situations, different generational gaps. When I look at these things, I see just human nature. As we age, as we get older, as we mature, I see maturity is what I see. I mean, there's even Gen Alpha that we don't even talk about because they're not coming into the workforce. But Gen Alpha, the things that are known about them or the things that are said about them is just kind of immaturity. They haven't matured yet. It's true. Gen Z, there's still some maturity. There's still some learning. Do they have a shorter attention span? Yeah. What younger person doesn't, honestly? I mean, there are younger people that do have good attention spans, but most of them, they're going to have to work on that. It's a muscle they're going to have to build up. Mental health stress, depending on the expectations on them. But I see that in older people too. I see that in baby boomers. I see mental health stress going on especially if they're enveloped in social media. They get it too. Some of the other things like high expectations for quick advancement. I remember that when I was getting into the workforce, that's what my peers were expecting, especially if they went to college and you graduated from college. Oh yeah, I was, because you're told that when you go to school, and you're told that before you go to school. You got to go to college, you got to get a degree, otherwise you're not going to get a good job. You got to, in order to have a good job and a good position, you got to do this. What they're not told is you start at the bottom and then you work your way up. And if you want to change jobs, you're going to start at the bottom and you're going to work your way up. In general, which brings me to the millennials and prone to job hopping. Do you know one of the reasons why millennials are prone to job hopping? It's because it's so easy to get stuck. It's so easy to get stuck in a corporation or at a certain business because opportunities for advancement have not been there. The opportunities for advancement come from hopping to another job, from leaving somewhere and going somewhere else. So yeah, that loyalty is not there because the loyalty isn't reciprocal. And they feel that. Millennials feel that when they're courted by other companies that are going to pay them 25% more salary. And then they go to their boss and they're like, I like it here, I'd like to stay. And the boss says, well, I might be able to give you a 5% raise. That's not going to cut it. It's just not going to cut it. So yeah, they're prone to job hopping. They can be seen as entitled. Well, they were seen as even more entitled before. Remember them being called the snowflakes? But now they're starting to become the hard workers. They're starting to become more of the grinders, the ones that grind out what they need to grind out, even if it's on their own and more entrepreneurially, they're grinding it out. So they're being seen as the harder workers. What they used to be, the snowflakes who were impatient and needed all the feedback, but now that they've gotten the feedback, they're starting to become independent. Imagine that. What about Generation X? Skeptical of authority? Yeah, as you get older, you start to understand, okay, guess what? Authority doesn't have it all together. I used to think that the people in charge knew stuff, but now I realize they don't because I'm the one in charge and I don't know anything. So yeah, skeptical of authority. And again, same thing with the loyalty to the employers. Of course, they're not going to be loyal if the employers aren't loyal to them. The baby boomers resist new technology. Most people resist change unless they're the ones that instigate it. So whether you're the silent generation or the baby boomers, most people resist that change. And most of us can get really comfortable in what we know and what we like. And it happens as we get older. We get more resistant, more rigid. Work-life balance struggles. Well, when you've been told all the time that you got to stay here and grind it out and stay here and grind it out, you're going to struggle with work-life balance as well. I value FaceTime over flexibility. I'll be honest with you, when they're seeing the things that they're seeing online and knowing that a lot of that stuff is not real and not true, yeah, I can see why they value FaceTime. Not to mention, if you're having a meeting with someone, you can get a lot more done when you're face-to-face than when you're trying to text it out. And you find that out over time. As you grow, as you get older, you find that out. When you're younger, you're a little less, you have less desire to actually speak to someone face to face. You feel like you can say it better over in text, in word. I remember thinking that if I was handwriting letters or writing emails, I can say it better this way than actually face to face. You build up that muscle over time. When you work on it and you have people working on it with you, you build up that muscle over time. And then the silent generation, look, when people get to a certain age, we got to respect them. They've lived a long life and they've lived well. And yeah, they might be a little more rigid, a little less resistant to change. But let's honor them. Let's honor that. Let's pull the wisdom that they do have because they've seen a lot over their lifetime. And most of us, if we're honest, don't think about or don't remember the things that happened before. And we can easily forget about it. So they need our honor and our respect. And these are all things that are spoken of in Scripture as well. I mean, these are just the way that life is. This is what happens when you grow. And the point is this: when you're looking to bring someone into your team, experience is good. But what positions do you have in your company where you could take someone who's not experienced and you could look at it as sowing a seed into them that will then grow and help them grow, and you can see them grow. And as they grow, if you continue to give them more and more opportunity, you might breed loyalty in them. But it's not just going to come out of nowhere. There's got to be something reciprocal, something that you're giving to them in order for them to give back to you. It's one of those things that's always got to be earned and never expected. It's kind of like respect, right? You always earn it. You're always looking to earn respect from people by giving them respect. You always give it, but never expect it, never demand it from people. I mean, I guess you could expect it out of them in the sense that you know what they're capable of, so you expect more out of them, but don't demand it out of people. Just give it without expecting anything in return. And then what you do get in return, be thankful for. And that's the way Christ looked at it. That's the way Christ looked at money in particular. And if we could look at it that way, and if we could look at it as a seed that we plant in this younger generation and the younger generations that are coming up, helping them to grow, we can profit greatly from that. It's hard. It's not easy to do at first. And if I don't have enough time to do that, or enough time to lead others to do that and let them be part of filling their day with lifting other people up and training them and helping them grow, if I don't have the time for that, or I belittle them or decry them because they're doing that, I'm going to lose my workforce at some point, and I'm going to spend so much time hiring people and trying to fill those roles that people keep leaving because they're job hopping. I'm going to spend so much time doing that, and money, by the way, that I'm in danger of losing my business at that point. So something to consider as you move on and as you continue. It's been a little more technical today. Hopefully it's been good though, and hopefully it's been beneficial. There are generations we try to kind of group into this and that kind of generation because of similar experiences, but mostly I truly do believe there's just a maturation that happens. And that difference in maturity level is really what contributes to the majority of what we see from generation to generation. Hopefully this has been helpful, and until next time, thanks.